What's up, everybody? Friday live stream. I'm here to answer your questions. Let's see. Getting some people joining here. Friday live stream. My name is Keith Kraker. I'm a co-founder here at Carbon Diet Coach. And every Friday we do these live streams where we answer your questions about the app, nutrition, training, anything really related to fitness. So if you guys have questions, put them either in on Facebook, YouTube, or I got Instagram going here as well. If you guys can hear me, just let me know if there's any issues with sound or anything. I should be good to go though. Loving the app so far. Thank you so much, Jacob. Let's see. There is a question on Facebook already. It looks like it was put on there just a minute ago. So can you give me a generalized timeline for a fat loss phase going into a reverse and then maintenance phase for Gen Pop? So the timeline for anything is going to be dependent on your goals. So timeline phase for fat loss going into a reverse and then maintenance. So Rosalind, it depends how much weight you're trying to lose in this fat loss phase, how low your calories get. But I would say once you reach your goal weight in carbon, you can switch over to a reverse diet at that point. And what I would do is I would have the app make your reverse diet goal based on your current metabolism. So how the app has kind of sensed your metabolism to be during this fat loss phase. And then what it'll do is it'll have you start at your estimated maintenance, and then it will increase from there for the reverse diet. And I can't really give you like, it's going to be 12 weeks, it's going to be 16 weeks. Like it all depends on like your genetics, how low you went with calories, your muscle mass, how your body responds. Like there's a ton of different factors, so it's impossible for me to give you any time frame. But reverse diet for as long as you can, and then once you start noticing more weight gain than you want, then at that point I would switch over to maintenance and then just kind of hold there for a little while. Why not allow diet breaks within the fat loss goal without switching to maintenance? Diet breaks are a strategy that people can use, but for most people, most Gen Pop people, they really don't need diet breaks. And I find people that throw in diet breaks, they often struggle a little bit because it's kind of a mindset shift of going, some weeks you're going to go to maintenance, some weeks you're going to go to fat loss phase. And people tend to spin their wheels with consistency in doing diet breaks. We're not going to have like a specific way set up in the app to do a diet break. So because there's no really general consensus on this is how you need to do a diet break. So that's why we didn't necessarily implement it into the app. But what difference does it make switching your goal to maintenance or keeping it on fat loss? Like it's basically the same thing at the end of the day. And you can choose when you want to do the diet break yourself. Because if you don't really know if you should take a diet break or when you should take a diet break, you're probably not the type of person that needs to end up taking a diet break. So I hope that makes sense. Let me go to Instagram here. I see a question. So are there better choices of proteins ideal for post-workout compared to others? Great question. It depends, like most things, but generally speaking, no. If you're just having a high-quality protein source, if you're having a high-quality protein source after your workout, like 1 to 2 hours after your workout, you're going to be completely fine. You don't need to like micromanage in terms of, oh, after my workout, I need to have this type of protein, and after this, I need to have this. I think if you're generally having high-quality protein sources in your diet throughout the day, and then including one after your workout, you'll be completely fine. So I wouldn't like look for specific sources like that. Good question, though. Let's see. If I've had, oh, wait, hold on. I missed one. Facebook, Anita's asking, I just started working with the app. When hitting the macros, is that where the main focus should be? Is calories usually say I'm over, but the macros are fine? Yes, Anita, if you're going to want to focus on hitting the macro targets that carbon's giving you, the reason why there's a discrepancy in the macros and the calories is because of rounding in food labels. So technically speaking, if you were to add up your consumed protein, carbs, and fats, protein has around 4 calories per gram, carbs is 4 calories per gram, and then fat is 9. So if you were to do the math and multiply what you ate in those macros by those figures, that would give you the calories that you consumed. And like 9 times out of 10, that's not going to line up with what it's saying is tracked. And that is because the food labels are off in terms of the calories. So what carbon's doing, it's pulling that nutrition information. So it's taking that rounded kind of calorie number. So if you can focus just on the macros, that would be ideal. And that's what I would do. Great questions. Let's see. This one's getting cut off a little bit, but hi, after loading creatine, will the water weight stay as long as you take 3 to 5 grams a day, or will it drop back to baseline shortly after? So let's say you are at maintenance calories and you start taking creatine monohydrate. That water weight gain is going to stick around because what creatine does is it helps you retain more water inside of your muscle cells. And creatine pulls water into the muscle cells. So the extra creatine that you're storing there is pulling more water in there, and that will stick around because your creatine levels are going to be elevated as long as you take creatine. So it will not, if you're eating at maintenance, your weight isn't going to drop back to baseline. You're going to have a new baseline. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see here. How do I get that off? Okay. We're getting some more on Facebook and YouTube. Let's see. I've had a bad 2 weeks. Should I just start over from the beginning with new goals? Andrew, if you've had bad 2 weeks, you should be marking non-compliant when it asks you. So you don't really have to start over like with new goals from the beginning. If you just get back on track with the targets that Carbon is recommending, and then if you are compliant to your macros, start hitting yes to that question, you're going to be fine. So you don't have to worry about resetting the coach. I wouldn't reset the coach in that situation. Let's see here. Let me fix this. All right, we got another one on Instagram. If activity increases, update goal and app manually or let the app sense the higher maintenance. Definitely let the app do its thing and sense the higher maintenance. It will adjust and figure out where you need to be eating to maintain or lose or whatever your goal is. So it's really best to be consistent and patient with the app because you're not going to want to be jumping around a ton with your activity anyway. So try to be consistent with your activity level as much as you can and keep it like on average the same, and then let Carbon do the rest. But let's say you go from doing 0 activity and you go to being super, super active. That scenario might take a little bit longer for the app to sense that, I guess, and make up that difference in calories. So in like a super extreme scenario where your activity changes drastically, then you can go and just recreate a new goal. So if you have a fat loss goal currently, go recreate another fat loss goal and enter in those new activity levels. So what you would need to, when it asks you, do you want to use your current metabolism, you would just say calculate new instead. Because your new metabolism is going to be based on the crazy different activity levels. So do the calculate new, and then it'll let you enter in your new activity levels. Let's see. How does Carbon adjust when women are on their menstrual cycle, specifically when we gain weight during this time? Elizabeth, carbon typically doesn't adjust things when you're on your menstrual cycle. So if you hit yes to that question, it's mostly telling the app, okay, there is likely some additional weight gain this week. So you aren't going to have the true weight. So what carbon will do is it'll take that into account, and most of the time it will keep your macros the same, but it depends, you know, the weight change that happened along with that. So it's basically just another data point that you're giving the app, and it can use to evaluate what is best to do. So if there is like, there seems to be a lot of confusion, not a lot, but some confusion around when you should say yes to that question. If there is any chance that your weight is affected by your menstrual cycle and the hormones, then I would hit yes to that question. So for some women, that's going to be, you know, pre, and some women that's going to be pre, during, and a little bit post. So sometimes you might have to hit yes to that question 2 weeks in a row. It just depends. And I would say yes, if your weight is potentially affected by your menstrual cycle, just hit yes to that question, and it'll make the right call. I've returned to a weight loss phase in the app, but I got into the gym this week again, and I have lost weight. Should I mark not compliant? Been using carbon for more than a month now. Jorge, marking non-compliant is only done when you don't follow the macro targets. So don't, for any other reason, don't hit no. So if you actually ate those macros, hit yes, even though you haven't lost weight or whatever. Like, leave that to the coach to decide what should happen with your macros. Your job is to follow the recommendations and then say yes or no if you actually follow those recommendations, and then leave the rest up to the coach. Let's see. What are the strictly specific reasons to reset the coach? We put originally we didn't have the reset option in there for people, and then people would reach out to us on support quite a bit, asking if we would reset their account for them because they were fussing with it and they screwed things up and they just want to reset. So in that scenario, that's why we put it back in the app for people to reset if they screwed things up. But really, that's really the only scenario is when I would reset is if something got screwed up, because when you reset, you're going to completely wipe out all of your check-in data, and that's not something you want to do if you've been using the app for a while. So you're going to want to keep that data around. So I would only reset if you screw things up with entering in stuff, or you're trying to change your goal 100 times and it's screwing things up, because there is a chance if you create like 20 different goals and you are entering in all this different information, it can kind of throw the system off quite a bit. So yeah, those are really the only scenarios I would think about resetting the coach. Let's see here. On a reverse, so Kev is on a reverse, added 700 calories per day, down a lot of weight this week, even more than while on a fat loss. Crazy. Wow, that's an amazing reverse diet right there. Being able to increase 700 calories a day and lose weight, that means that your metabolism is speeding up faster than the calories that you're adding into your diet. So it sounds like reverse dieting was the right choice for you. You probably were on like a really long fat loss phase where your metabolism was really suppressed. So it sounds like carbon's doing you good. So that's awesome. Let's see. On Instagram, if you guys want to ask questions, put it in the question box thing, because the ones in the comments are really hard to keep track of. And then I can also pull it up on the screen on Instagram. Let's see. Brahim on Facebook, is the app taking your weight data from non-compliant weeks or disregarding them completely on future progress? Thanks. So the app, when you're non-compliant, the app is not going to make any adjustments to your macros. What it does with your weight, currently it is looking at your weight, but when you are non-compliant, what the app's going to do is it's going to start over from like looking at your start and end weight. So let's say you're non-compliant. The next week, when you check in, the coach is going to look at what was your start weight for that week and your end weight for that week. Just because the non-compliant week, your weight is going to be likely pretty off in terms of, because if you're not eating the recommended macros, your weight is probably not normal. So what it's doing is when you go non-compliant, it's going to look at your compliant weights and use that. So it kind of starts over in a sense of looking at your progress. So it'll look at your start and end weight for that week. But then if you're compliant another week, the app is going to look at, okay, what is the weekly average weight of last week, and then what is the weekly average rate of this week, and then it'll compare those two. So it will look at more data and kind of flatten out the curve a little bit, so fluctuations won't matter as much. And then taking things a step further, on the third compliant week, the app is going to look at, it's going to evaluate multiple weeks. So it's going to look at the trend over time and come up with the best adjustment. So the longer that you are compliant with the macro targets, the better off those targets are going to be. So it kind of fine tunes itself the more compliant you are. Let's see, back to Instagram. Thanks for putting the questions in the box. Let's see. So, Miss Jenny, what would cause the calories to not add up to the macros once my food is logged for the day? So you must have joined just recently. I answered that a little bit ago, but the calories and macros aren't going to line up due to rounding in food labels. And that is why when you, at the end of the day, if you've zeroed out your macros, the calories are probably still off. Well, what I recommend is disregarding calories and looking at your macros and trying to hit your macro targets because of that rounding in food labels. We are going to have a future release of the app where we are doing that math of the macros that you ate, and so that you can line them all up. And we're planning on having that be kind of a preference, so you can prefer to use the calories that are listed on food labels, or you can prefer to have them be calculated based on the macros consumed. So that's something that we're working on implementing in a future release, and I think that's going to be huge for a lot of people and like clear up a lot of confusion around that. But great question, Jenny. Let's see. Angela, I just started using carbon today. I've started my reverse 3 weeks ago, and my macros are 1485, 125 grams of protein and 32 fat. The app suggested calories at 1639 and protein a lot lower at 109. Should I make the jump to what the app is suggesting or use my own macros to start? So if you started the reverse on your own, and it sounds like you started the reverse on your own 3 weeks ago, and now you're starting to use carbon, and it's giving you higher targets than before. Jumping from 1485 to 1639, it's not a crazy big jump, so you probably can do it and follow those. But if you want to have it start where your current macros are at, you're going to need to enter in a custom maintenance value. And so you would need to, in this scenario, you could reset your coach and then recreate a reverse diet goal and then enter 14 85 as your maintenance calories, and then that will start your reverse diet at that point. Let's see. Back to Instagram. Would this app be a good choice for women with hormonal issues like PCOS? Yes, absolutely. So women with PCOS still need to follow the same kind of guidelines as somebody that doesn't have PCOS in terms of creating a calorie deficit if your goal is weight loss. And for somebody with PCOS, that might mean your calories might need to be a little bit lower, but Carbon will be able to find that and find exactly where you need to eat to make progress. So the app will be a good choice for anyone, really, because it learns your body over time, and based on your check-ins and your weight and what you're consuming, it will give you the right recommendations for your diet. Let's see. Back to Facebook. Not strictly a carbon-related question, but can you tell me what the purpose of taking L-carnitine one might be? There's really no purpose. L-carnitine isn't really beneficial. People take it for many different reasons. Mostly they think it's going to help them lose body fat, but the case is that it doesn't really help you lose body fat. So that's not really something I would recommend taking, just because it's kind of a waste. Let's see. Let's see. Why hasn't the app changed my calories if my weight hasn't changed in 2 consecutive weeks? So Dan, I don't know what your goal is with the app. If you're on maintenance, that would make a lot of sense. If you're on fat loss, that wouldn't make a ton of sense, but it could in the scenario where, let's say you start a fat loss phase, you lose a ton of weight the first week, then your weight loss kind of slows down and you stay the same for the 2 following weeks. If you lose enough weight in that first week, I can see it not making an adjustment to your macros. Another scenario is if you are non-compliant. So if you were non-compliant for 2 weeks and put that in the app, then it's not going to make any kind of adjustments. But I would think the scenario happening for you is you lost a lot of weight in a given week and then didn't lose as much in following weeks. And you're saying your weight hasn't changed, but you actually changed a lot in that initial week. That's my guess is what's happening there. Because the app is looking at your trend, your progress trend. So it's not just looking at a single week in isolation. It's looking at multiple weeks and evaluating that trend. Any benefits to taking BCAA supplements if you're consuming high quality protein through animal and plant-based sources? I would say no. No. Back to wowza, that's a massive water bottle. Yes, it makes me drink enough throughout the day. So I think it's a half-gallon jug. So I definitely have one full one of these, and then my goal is 2 of them a day. But I carry this big thing around to help remind me to drink water. It's from Costco, I believe. No. It's Arctic. It's the Arctic brand. I got it as a Christmas gift. I used to have one from Costco, but I'm not sure where it's from. The brand is RTIC. Let's see. So my target weight is 112. Should I aim for 110 in case my weight goes up slightly when reversing? I think that's a good idea. You probably don't need to aim for, 110 to 112. I would probably aim for a little bit lower yet. I like to overshoot your goal weight by like 5 pounds, because when you're reverse dieting, you're probably going to increase, most people on average, I would say, if you are doing it slowly and doing it for a good enough time, you're probably going to gain about 5 pounds of total weight over the course of your reverse if you're consistent with it. So I would overshoot that goal weight by 5 pounds. So go to 107 or something, maybe even 105. And then that gives you headroom to do a really good reverse diet up into your goal weight so that you can maintain on higher calories. So I always like to overshoot it. Let's see, did I miss any on Facebook? No, okay. We've got some more on Instagram I'll handle here. Hashtag hydrate, yes, Bob. It's very important. Stay hydrated, people. I'm plant-based and find it difficult to hit 152 grams of protein and stay within 240 grams of carbohydrates. Any advice? If you are using carbon, you can adjust the diet preference slider. So I would, if you haven't done this already, I would suggest going to settings, diet preferences, and then taking the protein down a little bit to something a little bit more manageable. You can adjust it down. On the plant-based diet, we allow you to adjust it down a little bit more just because people do struggle getting protein on a plant-based diet. But technically speaking, you need a little bit more protein on a plant-based diet because the amino acid profile is not as good as the animal protein diet. So you technically need more, but the struggle to get it is harder on a plant-based diet. But I would just go with the protein amount that allows you to be consistent overall. So if you're really struggling with 152, just adjust it down and don't worry too much about it. Thanks for all the hearts, people. I appreciate it. Let's see here. This is an interesting question. If money was no object, what is one thing you wish the app could do that it doesn't already? I think it would be more around like machine learning and that type of thing, and more so from the tracking perspective, because tracking itself is very time consuming if you've never done it before. Once you get the hang of it, it gets a lot easier. But if you can make the tracking experience super easy, like literally all you do is hold up your phone to a product. You don't even have to scan the label, but literally just hold your phone camera to the product and it tracks it for you. Or tracking by voice and say like add a cup of milk and a cup of oatmeal to breakfast, and it just does it for you without you having to go in and add it yourself. I think that would be amazing. So if money wasn't an issue, I would try to add in more tracking features that make it so easy to track and keep track of your diet that literally there's no excuse to not do it. If I adjust my carbs/fats, will that change or reflect the 2.5 compliance range during check-in? So Elizabeth, if you change your carbs and fats, like in your diet preferences midweek, it is going to change where your compliance range is going to show at the end of the week. But it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter because it's going to be based on where you're currently eating. So if you adjust it midweek, you just make sure that you're within that range at the end of the week, and it should reflect that in the compliance range of the plus 2.5 minus 2.5%. So I hope that makes sense. Back to Instagram. Some of these ones on Instagram are so long that I can't even read them all. They get cut off. They all are like that, so hopefully I can decipher what the question is. Not losing weight and I'm eating 200 to 300 calories a day under my calories. Is it possible that I'm Not eating enough. I don't know why would you be eating under what the coach recommended if you are trying to follow the coach's recommendations? Even if you are in a fat loss phase, like, you need to hit the macro targets. You don't want to eat 200 to 300 calories under. And what I think is happening is you're trying to eat 200 to 300 calories under where we're recommending you to eat, which is an unsustainable amount. And you are not being as consistent with your diet, and you're allowing some more calories that you're not accounting for. So that could be why you're not losing weight. You might be eating 200 to 300 calories under during the week, but then what about on Saturday night when you have a bunch of food, you drink alcohol, all these things, you have a bad day? Like, do you account for that in this 200 to 300 calories under? I would be surprised that if you are truly eating 200 to 300 calories under the recommendations of a calorie deficit, that you wouldn't be losing weight. But if you're severely under eating like that, you're going to suppress your metabolism more. So I wouldn't recommend doing it, but you're not going to suppress your metabolism to the point where you cannot lose weight and cannot lose body fat. It's just, you're going to have to take calories a little bit lower, but it doesn't sound like you are on average eating 200 to 300 calories less, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Should you adjust macros when you have a high? So this is the same person, I think, that asked this question. So it sounds like you are not. Oh wait, no, maybe it's a different person. Yeah, it's a different person. Should you adjust macros when you have a high tendency of not being compliant? There was 1 week I wasn't compliant and lost weight. It's cut off, but basically, should you adjust macros when you have a high tendency of not being compliant? I would get to the root reason of why you're not being compliant. Like, what is causing you to not be compliant? Is it because your macros are too low, your calories are too low, like your fat loss rate is too fast? I would try to adjust that and fix that issue. If doing like a high day during the week can help you be more consistent, definitely use the calorie planner to set that high day, and which will allow you to be a little bit more consistent. But it depends on the reasons why you're not being compliant, honestly. So I can't really give you super specific instructions there. Let's see. Got some more on Facebook, YouTube. Okay, so YouTube, if I choose my maintenance and let the app choose the targets for me, would it automatically lower that target if the app notices I'm gaining weight at check-ins at that number? So if you're on let's see, choose maintenance and let the app choose the targets for me, would it automatically lower that target if the app notices I'm gaining weight at my check-ins at that number? Yeah, absolutely. So that's the whole point of the maintenance setting. The maintenance setting, you're going to set it. It's going to set like an allowable weight range, and you can see that on your coach tab of where you can be in, and the app will say it's fine, because everybody has like a normal weight maintenance range where they're within a few pounds. So the app is going to set that range. Once you go outside of that range, it's going to make an adjustment. So if in this scenario, like you mentioned, you're gaining weight and you're eating at what we recommended for your maintenance, the app will dial that back and figure out where you need to be to maintain that weight that you had set. And then one thing that's really awesome on the maintenance setting is if you, let's say you go outside of that range and it makes an adjustment, it decreases your calories. Let's say that you're still, at your next check-in, you're still outside of that weight range, but you are trending in the right direction to go back to that range. The coach is not going to make an adjustment. So that's something really cool that, I would do as a coach, is if like a client is trending in the right direction, I would be more conservative and not make an adjustment. So that's something really cool that we do on the maintenance setting. I seem to hit my protein and carb macro targets, but struggled to hit my fat macros. Any suggestion? Peanut butter or olive oil. Like if you really struggle with fat, the easiest way is to just add olive oil to your meals. So you can just add a tablespoon to your meals and easily hit that fat target. I personally really like peanut butter, so I will, eat a few spoonfuls of peanut butter if I'm getting behind on fat. But I would just go based on what you prefer, the foods you prefer. Hopefully there's some higher fat foods that you like eating that are more of like a healthier fat, like, nuts, seeds, oils, those types of things, fatty fish. If you can include more of those in your diet, I would recommend it. Let's see. My usual check-in day is Sunday. I got to go out of town for the weekend, though, so I'll just check in on Friday. The following week, can I just wait 9 days before my next check-in so I can continue with the Sunday check-ins? Yes, Will, that's how the app functions. So if you check in early, after you check in, it's going to still keep that same check-in day. So if you check in early and you check in on Friday, your next check-in period is going to be from that Friday to the following Sunday. So it'll be that 9 days. So the app will do this automatically for you. And you just all you need to do is in the settings, set your preferred check-in day and then just go with it. And if you need to check in early, you can do that. If you can check in on your check-in day, that's good too. So let's see. Can't favorite adjusted macros when scan is wrong, perhaps a future update. I'm wondering, so it sounds like you're scanning a food item. It's not coming up with the correct macros, so you modified that item. When you modify that item, it creates that food for you. So it creates a food for you. So you can't favorite foods that are already technically your favorite foods, because the My Foods are technically favorited foods for you. So it's in that My Foods list. And so whenever you modify an item, then it will throw it in that list. So there really is no need to favorite it. But I guess if you have some more insight around that, you can send us an email at support@drainedcarbon.com. Brian is saying, I incorrectly set slow metabolism at the beginning, but have been losing weight on the fat loss setting and being compliant. If I'm compliant and the coach ups my calories due to too much weight loss, will continued compliancy eventually negate the slow metabolism setting, or should I start over with regular? Brian, it will negate it. So I would say after 3 to 4 weeks, it's not going to matter what you put in for your initial goal creation, as long as you're compliant. Like, the app is going to fine tune and figure out your body over time. So literally that initial information and starting macros are just to get you started. We feel like they're the best place for you to start based on the information that you gave us, but they are honestly just an estimation. What the app needs to do is it needs to determine where you actually need to be. So if you did hit slow metabolism and you don't have a slow metabolism, the app is going to still find exactly where you need to eat. So I wouldn't worry about it, Brian. I would just keep checking in and being compliant. I think I'm losing my voice because I had a live at 1 to 2 with Holly on the Team Bioline page, and now I got this. So hopefully I don't lose my voice. All right, Instagram. I need to lose 5 pounds permanently. Should I aim to lose more, since I plan to reverse to a bulk after? Yes, but the thing that doesn't make sense is if you want to lose 5 pounds permanently, you probably shouldn't bulk after, because then you're going to gain weight and probably be outside of that 5 pound range. So I would, now if you want to reverse diet up into that goal weight that you have, I think that's a good idea. I would do the 5 pounds below that, so lose 10 pounds, and then reverse diet up into that 5 pounds, and then don't do a bulk after, because bulking is with the goal of adding a certain amount of body weight per week. So I would probably just reverse diet up into that goal weight. Let's see, Fiddlegrass, loving the app. I've lost 25 pounds or 24 pounds in 7 weeks. Oh, wow, that's crazy. If I don't track one day in the app, will the tracker still use 7 days for my average calories, or will it use 6? So if you don't track in the app, it's only going to average the information that it has. So it's going to average that over the course of 6 days if you didn't track a whole day. So if there is food, basically what it's doing is it's looking at all of the items that you consumed, and then it's going to find the average of that. So over the course of those days that you tracked. So it should work out fine. And you don't have to, some people don't track everything in Carbon, and you can certainly use like a different food tracker if you guys want to use MyFitnessPal or whatever. You can use any kind of tracker that you want, and you don't have to feel like you need to track everything in Carbon. As long as you know what you're eating in terms of macros on some level, you'll be fine. Back to Instagram. I'm currently weighing in at 168 and I'm around 16% body fat. I'd like to be 170 and 10% body fat. Do you suggest using maintenance or build as my setting? So that's going to take quite a while. If you're currently right around that 170-ish mark and you want to lose 6% body fat, you're going to need to focus on distinct phases of adding as much muscle as possible, and then losing as much body fat as possible and keeping your muscle around. So I would not go to the maintenance setting. That'll likely cause you to just spin your wheels, because a lot of people have the goal of losing body fat and building muscle at the same time. Obviously, that is the ideal scenario, but it's not something that's reasonable or expected for a lot of people. So I would have distinct phases. I would recommend first doing a fat loss phase, getting to maybe getting to that 10% body fat mark, and then doing a reverse diet from there to help improve your metabolism, and then cycling back maybe into another fat loss phase. It's probably going to take quite a few phases of dieting, reverse dieting. You can also use the weight gain setting, but if you want to stay as lean as possible as you're kind of building muscle, maybe the reverse setting is a little bit better, just being really conservative, but on the allowable weight gain. But yeah, I would have distinct phases, and I would kind of cycle between gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight and losing weight. And eventually, if your training is intense enough, if you have the right genetics, then you can reach the 170 at 10% body fat. When you do your weekly check-in, to be compliant, do you have to hit your calories and macros fully, or can you be lower, higher on certain macros? I wouldn't worry about the calories when you're checking in, as long as you're within those macro ranges. If you're outside of those macro ranges, you're technically not compliant. And it's up to you to determine if you want to go with that compliance range, or if you want to go with something else. But for the coach to work optimally, I would probably try to be within that range. And if you're not within that range, just say no, because you're going to have to draw the line somewhere. Like I see a lot of people saying, oh, I was, 5 5 grams outside of that range, like, am I still compliant? Like, technically no. And, but will it make a difference if you're 5 grams out? Probably not, but you have to draw the line somewhere. And where we draw the line with carbon is in that macro compliance range. So I would try to get within it, and then don't worry about calories. Let's see. Got some more on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. If you guys have more questions, be sure to drop them in there. Also, if you guys are enjoying this, throw up some hearts on Instagram. Give me a thumbs up or a heart on Facebook or YouTube. Love the app. My original goal was to lose weight, but I'm actually looking to lose body fat rather than weight. I do resistance training 5 days a week. Okay, this is another one. Like, yes, we all want to lose body fat and build muscle at the same time, which would cause you to not really lose weight, but that is not a reasonable expectation, especially if you are not new to things. So yes, in your head, that's what you want, but you need to have distinct phases. You need to focus on one over the other, and then focus on what's more important to you right now. Like, what is more important to you, losing body fat, or is more important to you to maintain your current weight, and go with that. Like, if you want to lose body fat, and then, build some muscle, and then, so lose body fat in a phase with fat loss, and then try to build muscle with either reverse dieting or weight gain, and then kind of cycle between those until you're at the weight that you want and the body fat that you want. But I would not put too much stock in your weight. Like, at the end of the day, go by how you want to look, your appearance, and, in the mirror. Like, the weight is just a number. So whatever makes you happy in terms of your body composition, I would make that be the ultimate goal, and not get too hung up on the weight. But focus on one thing at a time. Focus on losing body fat if your goal is to lose body fat. Let's see. This isn't a question, but adjusted my coach. I'm at 24, lowered weight loss per week to make it more sustainable. Good idea. A lot of people set really fast rates of loss in the app, and then at the same time complain at how low their calories are, and it kind of doesn't make any sense. Like, if you really want to lose 2 pounds a week, you're going to have to be in a big deficit. And so if you set that as your goal, don't be pissed when your calories come out really low. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you want the best of all the worlds, but you can't have the best of all the worlds. You might need to, if you want to lose that weight that fast, you might need to suffer a little bit. But good idea on slowing down that rate of loss. I usually recommend being a little bit more conservative and slower, because it keeps your calories higher. It'll be more sustainable. So it's usually better to go with a slower rate of loss. And you can always, bump that up later if you want. But if you're struggling to follow the macros, it's likely because they're too low, and they're too low because you are too aggressive with your goals and unrealistic with what you have to eat at that to reach that goal. So glad that you got more calories and are good now. Been using the app 3 weeks. Love it. Keep up, BioLane. Thanks. But just so there's a little confusion. Carbon doesn't have anything to do with BioLane per se. So 3 of the founders are also involved in stuff with BioLane, but Carbon is a separate kind of company and entity. So if you guys have questions about Carbon specifically, try to direct those to me, Holly, Lane, or the carbon team, because the team BioLane is a completely separate thing, and I just don't want confusion on that because they may not have the right answers for you. So if you have questions about carbon, be sure to hit us up. If you have questions about BioLane, hit up that company. Keep doing these Q&As, please. I love it. We plan to. We do them every Friday. So this Friday is me alone. I'm not sure who's next week, but what we do is we rotate kind of a schedule where each month Lane, Holly, or I do an individual Q&A, and then one time a month we do like a group Q&A where all three of us get on here. So every single Friday we do these, so be sure to tune in every Friday, and we'll keep doing them if you guys find them helpful. Like, if you guys find these helpful, throw up some hearts, throw in the comments, let me know how helpful these are, because at the end of the day, we want to just be that support person for you guys using the app and be as helpful as we can. So whatever helps you guys the most, we want to do. So appreciate all the support, though. Like this one, for example, I'm 4'7", weigh 103. I set the app for weight loss, and my calorie budget is 1,000 calories. I believe that's too low. Well, if you're 4'7" and 103 pounds, 1,000 calories is probably going to have to be where you need to eat to lose weight. Like this is another one where you may need to be a little bit more, I guess, okay with eating that if your goal is losing weight, because if you want to lose weight, you can't always be full when you want to lose weight. That's just a matter of fact. Like sometimes you have to be hungry and you have to struggle a little bit. And if you only weigh 100 pounds, 1,000 calories can be legit. Like 10 calories per pound is an amount that a lot of people need to take their calories to lose weight and make progress. So I would not say that is crazy low based on what I'm reading in your question. So with that said, though, I would follow the recommendations, and if they are in fact too low, the coach will quickly adjust. So as long as you're consistent and you are following those recommendations, the coach will actually find where you be eating. So give the coach a chance. Like follow that and see what happens. If you lose a lot of weight in the first week, it's going to increase it. You believe it's too low, but it's probably not, and carbon will actually determine that. Okay. I think I got most of the Instagram ones. Let me jump back over to Facebook. Oh, okay. This isn't a question, not a question, but just want to say how much I love the app. Thank you so much. Which points are best to measure with calipers, all done by yourself? So for body fat testing, there's a few different methods. There's like a 3-site, I think a 5-site, and I think a 7-site. I think the 3-site is fine if you're by yourself. I believe one is the abdomen, one is your thigh, and then the other is your, I think, chest area here. I could be wrong. So I would Google it to get the actual right answer, but I believe a 3-site will probably be sufficient enough to give you a body fat estimate. Guys, if you have questions, I got a few more minutes here. I think I'll be on. I think it's going to kick me off in about 6 minutes. So I'll answer a few more questions you guys have. They don't have to be carbon related. They can be anything fitness. Like if you guys have any nutrition, training, any stuff like that, shoot them to me and I will do my best to answer them. You're welcome, Camelia. I guess I can scroll up in the comments and maybe see if there's any questions I didn't answer here. Jorge on YouTube, I asked in the Facebook group why I have low energy levels if I'm eating around 2,700 calories a day. It should be enough, right? 180 grams protein, 332 carbs, 83 fat. I'm trying to lose weight, try to keep my fiber up around 40. That honestly, that sounds completely sufficient in terms of dieting macros, and they're not too low. I would think the low energy levels are due to another factor outside of your diet. So maybe it's stress related, maybe it's activity related. I know with the pandemic and a lot of people being quarantined and kind of stuck at home, you're way less active, and the less active I am, the more I am tired, the more lower energy I am. So maybe that's contributing a little bit. Another huge one is sleep, like making sure you're sleeping at least 7 to 8 hours a night. I would look at all these other outside factors because it doesn't sound like your macros are going to be doing it. Let's see. I do love the app, and I'm seeing progress in weight loss and great body fat. I do testosterone replacement therapy and inject once per week. Your question got cut off, but I don't think I can really answer anything related to your TRT, unfortunately. So that would be a question I would ask your doctor. Would Apple Watch data be more accurate, predict your BMR, and would you consider making the Apple Watch compatible? All fitness trackers are going to have some inaccuracies, and some might be better than others, but they're all going to be inaccurate, and especially when estimating your calorie burn and your calorie needs. That's why we don't implement it with carbon, is just because there's so much room for error. Like there was a study, and some of them were 100% off from where they actually were. So some of these fitness trackers are just insanely inaccurate. And if we were to introduce that kind of inaccuracy into the system, it could prevent you from making any kind of progress. So honestly, all you really need to make the progress that you want, if your goal is to lose weight, lose body fat, is really just track your diet, track your weight, be consistent with your exercise and activity. And that's really all that you need to do. If you want to track your steps to make sure that you are consistent with your activity, that's something that I recommend people do. But in terms of looking at the calories from those types of devices, really bad move in my opinion. Someone recommended My Protein in the Facebook group. I see that they're from England. Is that company trustworthy? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about UK products like that. I think they have pretty cheap protein, so I don't know. I would be maybe a little worried about the quality of it, but I can't say specifically to that company because I don't know much about them. My partner's start weight is 279, and he has been dieting for 4 weeks, and he's been having about 1,700 calories per day, sedentary with thyroid cancer. He has lost 4 pounds. Should he be lowering his calories more? I wouldn't. If he's losing a pound a week, that is a good sustainable rate of loss. So I would just stay there. But 1,700 calories at 279 pounds of body weight, that's kind of low in calories, but it sounds like it's needed because of the sedentariness and the thyroid cancer. So I probably would just keep things the same, to be honest. But maybe considering doing a reverse diet might help things as well. But trying to be more active is going to only be beneficial. So I would make that a huge recommendation of mine for him. So 50% body fat. So it sounds like he's just super inactive and doesn't have a ton of lean body mass. So obviously his needs are going to be a lot lower. I would just stay the course of if he's losing a pound a week, just keep going at it and go from there. Guys, I'm going to be kicked off now on Instagram. So thank you so much for tuning in. We do these every Friday, and we will see you guys next Friday. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. You're the bomb. Welcome. Thank you so much. You're welcome. All right. I'm tuning off on Facebook and YouTube now. Thanks again. We will see you guys next Friday.